Okay. Good evening. Now let's start our talk show episode 76. The only things that stand between you and your dream is the will to try and believe that is actually possible. It's a beautiful quote quoted by Joel Brown. So with this quote, I would like to bring our talk show named Conversation with Consultants episode 76 of our guest talk series. Good evening everyone. I am Rima Kumari, ECR coordinator of SKNG, and I am your host for today's talk show. Before I begin our talk show, let me briefly introduce SK Associates and Group. We are an ISO certified management consulting firm registered under the MSMED Act 2006 with the Government of India. Our mission is providing consulting service to our student entrepreneurs globally, covering such as area compliance, operations, marketing, research and development, human capital, strategic and operations. Our passion lies in helping these budding entrepreneurs bring their dreams to life and contribute to global economics growth. Entrepreneurship is a catalyst and change in innovation. It's a powerful force that can reshape industries, transforms lives, and make the world better place. We are committed to supporting students, entrepreneurs on their journey, equipping them with the tools, knowledge, and network they need to succeed. Now, before I begin our show, let's take a moment to introduce our guest for today. It gives an immense pleasure to welcome Ms. Kavita Bhatia, mediator, founder, Autonomy Revolution Center, to this special event.
It's a resolution center, dear.
Resolution Center, to this special event. We are truly honored by your presence today and we are delighted to have you here in this talk show to share your insight with us. We would like to start this interview with our first question for you. What made you choose law as a career?
See, let me tell you a small story of my journey. I never thought about pursuing law initially because when we were in 90s, 1996, I have completed my 12th. So, the entire society was about chartered accountants and pursuing accounts as a career. So and I was very good at accounts. So I was also thinking pursuing masters in accounts, but as I didn't score good marks in graduation for accounts. I scored well, but for accounts, I didn't reach to the merit list. So I was very disappointed. I didn't get admission for masters in accounts, and then I just continuing working as a assistant accountant in one firm. That was, the office was of tax accountant. So while working with them, I realized there are other fields to focus, and it is not just accounts to pursue as a career. And then I just starting observing the tax consultants there and the working style there, and I realized law is also interesting stream to pursue. And then after completion of 1 year, I have joined Bachelor of Laws. And that's how, and like from the very first year, I realized I meant for law and law only, because I never felt like I'm putting any efforts in studying. It is all the time, whether it is law of torts, whether it is law of contract, each subject I felt with all curiosity what will happen next, like after studying a particular provision, the examples given there under the particular what is agreement and the example. So I found it quite interesting and very helpful for the people in the society rather than accounts. So I'm glad that I missed securing admission in Masters in Law and I pursued law.
It sounds good, ma'am. Moving with the next question, which law school did you attend?
As I said, I missed securing admission in masters in accounts from MS University and wasted 1 year. So directly, I didn't secure admission in. I just missed out the admission process there in the university. So I got admission in Anand Law College, the SP University of Vidyanagar. Very from there, I have pursued my LLB, and in 2007, I have joined my masters from MS University Faculty of Law. So you may consider like the journey. It is all challenging from the very beginning. What I wanted to pursue, and then what I actually received as per my destiny, and I'm in front of you right now.
Nice, ma'am. Moving with the next question, what degree did you complete LLB, LLM?
I said I completed my master's in law, in business law.
Great. When did you enroll as an advocate?
In the year of 2004, dear.
Okay, ma'am. Moving with the next question, which court did you practice in?
The local courts, the district court in Vadodara, that time Nyay Mandir at center of the city, the court was situated. So in the initial year of, I practiced only for 1 year, and the internships, mandatory internships, which were there to pursue. So the Baroda district court.
Nice. Your next question is, how many years of experience do you have?
So if you ask the experience, so like since I have completed my bachelor in law, I may count, so 20 years of experience. As I already introduced myself in your short video, that it is a combination of teaching, learning, and resolving. So you may consider the initial years of my career. I was a legal officer in a one company, and simultaneously I was working as a visiting lecturer, and then temporary lecturer, and then I got permanent the contractual job for 5 years. So as an academician, I spent 17 years with MS University, and gradually I also got chance to teach ADR as a subject. And then, so you may count 20 years of experience, but blended with all teaching, learning, and resolving as a mediator.
Nice. Moving with the next question, which area of law do you specialist in?
As I said, I have completed my master's with specialization in business law, and like I never considered myself fit for a criminal law for very reason, being a soft spoken and not able to consider the whatever societies, and so that it's a purely civil litigation I was into, because my senior was also pursuing the civil litigation.
Ma'am, your next question is, what is your success rate in cases?
Again, as I said, I hardly got chance to practice because after completion of my master's, straightway I was with academics and with the corporate firms for a few years as a legal officer. But yes, I represented. I just want to share one of my experience, because as you are asking the success rate, so in the very beginning of my career, my senior entrusted one file, and like it was about temporary injunction for the client, and I just referred all the facts, and I just went and I got the injunction. And so that was not of my wakalat patra with the senior, and even so I can consider ki even if I would have practiced as my career rather than an academician, I would I would consider myself as a good lawyer, and I may have answer you ki yes, I have won some number of cases, but for now I haven't won any cases because I never pleaded before the court. That's all.
Okay, ma'am. Your next question is, how do you stay updated with law changes?
See, when at present a number of podcasts are there, and then especially I rely on the Hindu and Indian Express articles, then certain online portals, Live Law, and the other Supreme Court sites. There are certain windows wherein you can read the judgments.
Great. Moving with the next question, what challenges did you face as a junior advocate?
See, as a junior advocate, the struggle was with the premises because the old court were very congested, and like being a female, like the ladies' room was very small. So I used to carry a small lunch box and like finding a little space to sit and to finish my lunch, and like mostly I spent my a day in with my senior advocate in court cabins and courtrooms, and then in a small cabin wherein one chair was lying there, and I was continuously reading all the briefs. So like during my practice, actually I spent most of the time in the library or the cabin wherein we were carrying the files for the entire day. So my target was just to know what is it about. It is not something I used to keep one small diary, just like our big diary, and like I was also noting down the upcoming dates for the for the clients. And like when I in the evening when we were reaching to the office, I just felt ki clients are considering me seriously, and they are talking about give the phone to that girl. She must be knowing what is the next date. So whether you refer the search diary or whether you are referring my small diary, you will be getting all the updates about the next date for the clients. So it's a like combined experience. I really enjoyed when I was practicing under a senior lawyer.
It sounds good, ma'am. Moving with the next question, what is mediation and how it is different from litigations?
So now you jumped with my presence from the past. Okay. So let me tell you that as you asked, the very difference between both. For me, mediation, I consider it as a life skill. Why I'm telling it is a life skill? Because mediation is something everybody should know about it, and everybody should practice for resolving their day-to-day conflicts. We can't imagine a life without conflict, and when there is a conflict, conflict needs to handle diligently, and people should try to resolve. So mediation is something I say it's a process wherein parties are resolving their disputes amicably with the help of a third neutral person called as a mediator. And opposite to that, litigation is adversarial system where parties are actually fight a legal battle with help of laws. So it is both are important and like very much helpful to the society, but on a different footing, I may say.
Nice. Moving with the next question, how did you get training in mediation? Mediation.
Mediation. Okay. So mediation and me, it's like pandemic approached mediation to me. Before pandemic, I have attended one ADR conference where I went to Indore Law School for presenting a paper, and I got some friends, mediator friends there. And then after I got invited to judge one mediation competition, then I got more friends. And then one good friend has suggested, why don't you take training for, because you are already teaching ADR subject, and if you are willing to. And pandemic allow me to pursue training, because the actual we were working on laptops only that time, and it was very easy to pursue trainings which are wherever you are free. So the training was conducted by IMAS Delhi online mode. So in the year of 2021 I have pursued very first mediation training. And then the it was going on international training from IMI. Then the mediation and conciliation project committee of Supreme Court is also conducting 40 hours training for mediators. So I also got a physical training in the year of 2023. So that's how I'm trained as a mediator at different level, national and international level, online, offline, all.
It sounds good, ma'am. Moving with the next question, what cases are suitable for mediation?
Very good question. Society should know. Actually, mediation fits in for all cases wherein there is no moral turpitude, there is no essence of criminal there. So all like labor disputes, consumer disputes, family disputes. So where people have some interest, vested interests, and they are fighting for their rights. Their parties can have a dialogue with each other, and they can resolve their conflicts amicably. So mostly, but you may consider certain criminal things, very negotiable instrument cases are also nowadays referred in the mediation centers. There are a number of cases I have dealt with wherein parties are in disputes for disorder of checks. So that's that's my answer.
Nice. Moving with the next question, how do you build trust between conflicting parties?
These conflicting parties, yes, mediation process actually beautifully designed, wherein there are certain stages. So in the very first stage, mediator is required to introduce themselves, wherein mediator is trying to establish a rapport and certain questions about themselves, and introducing as a mediator, yeah, that you have experience, your qualification, and telling them about the process, what is mediation and why they are in the mediation room, and what exactly going to happen with them, and how they can take help of mine as a mediator, and the neutrality, getting confidence from them that I will be neutral party, and there is no interest with any either of the parties, so that they are getting confident in me, and they are actually taking the process further.
Great. Your next question is, what is your success rate in mediation?
Success rate in mediation, actually there are certain challenges to the mediation process, wherein parties themselves are not actually aware, especially in Gujarat. Parties are actually not that much aware, how they will be getting their what say justice through the mediation, because they are actually aware about the litigation. So there are few cases wherein I got succeeded, but there are certain cases wherein parties are not turning up after 2-3 sittings, because uh, uh, I should not tell this, but there is some disappointments from the advocate side, wherein advocates are not actually encouraging parties to participate after 2 3 sittings, telling them ki see this is something not worthy, and you will be getting justice through court only. So even if I found certain cases wherein there is no law point to fight with, I insisted parties that see, like your case is very poor, and actually there is no scope wherein you will be getting succeeded. Both and accordingly, I try to convince them to settle there. बट लाइक पार्टीज आर लाइक कि मैं हाई कोर्ट जाऊंगा, मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाऊंगा, पर न्याय तो लेके रहूंगा. तो सच थिंग हैपेंस. I can give you one example of this. Two brothers were there, and they were staying in one single building. Ground floor occupied by one brother, and the first floor was occupied by the elder brother. And and the younger brother has built up another floor on the second floor, and there is a fight between both of them that. To demolish the construction at the second floor, because of the reason that the elder brother was not actually have given consent to build, but both were actually using that terrace part and the second floor. And so it is more about ego clash, and wherein you yourself is using that second floor and the terrace, and then there is sometimes certain mutual consensus were there. So what is the point in fighting there? But they didn't actually settle there. They were like, we will see in court, let's so such conflicts are actually, you will be seeing that there is no actually any law point, but litigations are filed, and parties are thinking that they'll be getting justice, but actually they have to understand rather than seeking for justice.
Yes, ma'am. It is nice. And moving with the next question, how do you handle difficult clients in mediation?
Again, I need to tell a short story, the recent experience. So let me tell you a little bit about mediation. The process is like wherein mediator meets parties in a joint session, and then taking a brief about the conflict, and then mediator is also talking separately. So the talk in a separate session called as a caucuses. So and then again joint session, and then if resolution happens, we frame the settlement agreement. But sometimes it happens, the parties are such wherein they are restless. So recently, last week only, there was one family mediation wherein the case was filed by the wife for divorce, having two major children. She came with her lawyer, two lawyers. She came with two lawyers and her two children. So they were five in number in the mediation room. And on the other side, the husband was alone, without advocate and without any family member. So, the moment I entered, and I was just trying to sit down, but the husband started yelling, "See, I don't want to see them. I'm unable to face them. See, they are my children are there. Why they are there? It is a dispute between me and my wife. Why they are there?" So I just try to calm down that party, and I requested the other party and advocates ki generally I don't allow advocates to sit in the mediation room unless parties are actually requesting ki yes, I need my lawyer there. So if you don't mind, can you sit outside? And then I try to convince the party also ki I'm thinking ki I should convince your husband first to sit at least for the mediation. So if you don't mind, can you sit outside for a while? So I will talk to your husband, and then I'll call you. So they have considered my request. So because I have requested, and they have considered my request, the mediation session happened. The caucus happened initially with the husband, then the caucus with the wife and the children, and then joint session, and then they were ready to get the another date. So this is something very difficult at times. You mediator is required to balance between the parties, giving all their rights, and try to convince them, at least take a try. Mediation, court mediation is not something like there is a question ki generally mediation we say there is autonomy between the parties autonomy, parties are actually willing to settle through mediation process. So some people are telling ki what about court mediation, wherein they are actually they have to be there in the mediation session, and they are required to resolve, but it is not so. Court generally referring the case to the mediation center. It is a due process of law under section 89 of CPC. The cases are referred to the mediation center. It is up to the party whether to settle or not. So even if you are participating in a mediation process, it is up to the party whether to settle or not. So it is not compulsory. It is not mandatory process for the parties. It is again a autonomy. It is parties are free to choose whether to settle or not, but at least give a try to this process. So I'm always requesting party just give a try for at least 2-3 sittings. If not comfortable, you can go back to litigation. There is nothing wrong in that. Likewise.
It sounds good, ma'am. Uh, your next question is, what are common mistakes in mediation?
It is not mistake, but you may consider sometimes mediation is not conducted in a right spirit. I actually don't know with other mediators, but for me, I just strictly follow what I have been taught during my trainings, wherein I have been taught to have patience, then the neutrality, not judgmental. So I apply all these this, and I'm trying to be very neutral, non-biased person. I don't consider someone as a guilty and non-guilty in the very beginning unless I actually am taking 2-3 sittings. Sometimes I am actually getting the actual scenario after fourth or fifth sitting, ki what exactly the case is. So actually mediators are not committing mistakes, but it is sometimes due to parties somewhere something cases are not getting settled.
Great. Your next question is, ma'am, how does autonomy resolution center help people?
Autonomy Resolution Center is actually the vision behind this center is for organizing trainings for students primarily, because when I was in academics and when I was teaching ADR as a subject, I felt that clinical part for teaching ADR is actually compromised, because the in one paper student needs to study Arbitration and Conciliation Act, then the entire module of MCPC for mediation. So, and in the initial stage, it is difficult for students to understand difference between all ADRs, the arbitration, conciliation, and mediation. So I realized there is a gap for teaching and practicing. So that the vision first is to train the students for ADR related skills, and also gradually to help the parties for resolving their disputes.
Nice. Your next question is how how was your experience in the initial days of your career?
Uh, as I already talked about, after completion of after completion of my bachelor's in law, and then I completed my masters, and then I was also very much interested to pursue JMFC, but then again I got married, so I found it difficult to whether to go for judiciary, or like I can stay in academics after completion of my masters. So and without any guidance, nowadays you will be uploading this on YouTube, and student will get to know how what is happening and what to pursue or not. But like in our days, the resources were very less, and no guidance at that point of time. So I face number of challenges, out of which I tried my best with all my hard work and like you may say dedication.
Great, ma'am. Um, Moving with your next question, how did you start your ADR center?
ADR Center, that is Autonomy Resolution Center, you are talking about. As I said, as an academician, I felt there is a gap of teaching learning of ADR subject, and for the skill based education, you may say. So, after taking a break in the year of 2024 from academics, and the passion I carry to teach students ADR. So that motivated me to establish the center. And initially, I tried to have collaborations with certain universities. I was invited from Kalinga University, Raipur. There, I got chance to interact with students. One lecture happened at Navracha University, then one lecture happened at Godhra City. So, likewise, I'm trying to get into this teaching students ADR, and let's hope it will went well.
It sounds good, ma'am. Um, Moving with your next question, what what are your short-term goals?
Short-term goals. As I said, I will be trying to get collaborations with certain universities in my initial stage, and also trying to get sign some MOUs with the universities, wherein student can get some internships under my ADR center. So these are small goals I would like to achieve initially.
Great. Your next question is what skills are most important for a beginner advocate?
Skills. See, as I already talked about skill based education for law students, students are actually required to have writing practice. They should take good internships genuinely, not only for sake of getting certificates of internship. They should choose wisely their internships in their interests, and they should pursue their internships very enthusiastically and genuinely, because I know some students are doing internships just to secure marks and just to get rid of the subject. So that should not be done, because internship is a chance to get into the practical aspects. So the theories are not sufficient at times. You have to have the practical aspects, and that you get from internships only. Also, you should participate in certain wood court competitions, and the parliamentary debate competition, then certain competitions wherein you need to actually submit the memorials for the moot courts and the other area related competitions. So you will be also getting command over your writing skills, write some research papers, participate in certain conferences, and some faculty develop. Sorry, the some certificate course of your interest. Maybe you have interest in IPR, so you pursue certain certificate course in IPR or maybe ADR. Likewise.
Nice. Moving with the next question, how do you manage work life balance?
Work life balance, it is, see, one should be passionate about their profession. Once you are passionate about learning, once you are passionate about your what you are doing, uh, I just want to tell the students, don't do anything for sake of doing. If you are in the class, you please try to be a student in the class and try to grasp as much as you can. When you are at internships, try to learn as much as you can. When you are at participating in a conference, in a like seminars, do with wholeheartedly, not for sake of participating ki yes, it is mandatory to get internship certificate, it is mandatory to have some moot court experience. So hard work, there is no other way than hard work. Hard work is a key to get success, and genuinely you should try with all means. Sometimes some students don't get much interest in studying law, so make a habit of reading. Gradually you will be getting interest. So interest can be cultivated. Reading habit it is something you have to have cultivate that habit. And not all students are studious, and not all students are getting admission in law by choices. There are certain students taking admissions because the father or mother wanted to be them as a lawyer, or maybe they wanted to see them as a judicial officer. So once you are you have chosen, or maybe your destiny brought you somewhere, so now you justify your role. Don't waste your time. So this is what I want to tell the younger generation. Be focused, do hard work, and it is mandatory for getting successful.
It sounds good, ma'am. Your next question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
it's not about me, but I want to see mediation working so well and helping society to resolve cases wherein it is actually resolvable with a dialogue. So, like, I just want to see my autonomy resolution center. Center is helping uh, parties to resolve cases. I may have a panel of advocates who are mediators and actually interested in resolving disputes. I may have a panel of psychologists who can study the psychology of parties in conflict. They may help parties to resolve. So mediation is not about law and law only. It is a multidisciplinary subject where social workers can join hands, psychologists can join hands, chartered accountants can join hands. So I'm looking for more collaborations from various disciplines and ultimately to help society to resolve their disputes amicably, because it is mediation and mediation only who retains the relationships. So as a part of society, you need peace. If you need peace at home, you need peace in your society. If you need peace in society, you need peace in your state. If you need peace in your state, you need peace in your country, and likewise. So peace is required in the society, and that is only and only possible through mediation, I guess.
Yes, ma'am. It sounds good. Moving to the next question. What changes do you want to bringing in the legal system?
Uh, Frankly speaking, I don't want any change in the legal system. It is working well. But what I consider for a change in legal education, because legal education, yes, theory is there, but students are actually, especially after pandemic, students not writing answers in full length. So and lawyers not writing. No doubt AI is functioning well. The new generation is taking help of AI, but AI is also there is a human mind that is actually formulating all the answers to your questions through AI. So it is like more about practical training, which is must for a law student, because internships are there, but certain students are not taking internships seriously, that I have observed as an academician. So there must be a mechanism wherein students are compelled to get practical skills, and especially ADR. See, a medical student wants to study medicine or homeopathy or allopathy, or Ayurveda, right? So these are the streams for medical. So similarly, for lawyers, you become an advocate, you became a lawyer for arbitration process, you become lawyer for mediation process, uh, you can become JMFC, you can become arbitrator, mediator. So some specialized courses, maybe a diploma course, maybe a certificate course, maybe a like a master program for ADR. So there are very few universities and colleges that are offering courses on ADR. So if we are actually requiring lawyers, we are also requiring to have mediators and mediator advocates and arbitrators and arbitration advocates. So there must be some mechanism wherein students are actually groomed with the specialization by their choice. And they are in the very initial stage of their career. They should be able to choose, yes, I wanted to become an arbitrator, or maybe a mediator, or maybe an advocate for mediation process, or advocate for arbitration process. So I hope something will come up in recent times.
Great. Ma'am, this is your last question for today's session. How can someone connect you for a mediation or legal help?
See, I'm available on social medias. My Instagram page is there with autonomy.rc. You can email. I will be sharing my email with you. You can share with your participants. The email is autonomy.rc@gmail.com. If you have any query, you have any questions, you want to know about more about mediation, you can email me. Again, I'm telling you, autonomy.rc@gmail.com. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm active at LinkedIn as well. You can find me with the name Kavita Bhatia. So it's easy to connect with me.
Okay, ma'am. Moving ahead, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to Ms. Kavita Bhatia for being our guest for today at Conversation with Consultants. Your presence and engagement helped to make this event successful. Thank you for providing insights into your exciting journey. Further, we would also like to thank our audience for listening patiently throughout the event. Thank you everyone for joining with us, and today hope that everyone gained some knowledge from this event.